Hey everybody, it's Mr. Rogers, and we have been talking about the cell cycle and cancer. And cancer we could take weeks and weeks and weeks on, but we just really don't have the time to do all of it. So we're kind of going to hit the main points a little bit here and kind of build into Monday where we're going to talk about treatments. And we're going to talk about a little bit about treatments today too, just to give you like a little overview. But what I'd like you to do is take some notes, kind of get a general idea again of what's going on. Today we're going to kind of talk about connecting what cancer is with the genes that we kind of talked about yesterday, and also talk about how certain things play a big role, especially P53. So cancer, you have protections against cancer, and every organ is a little bit different. Every organ has different genes that protect from it. And some organs have 6 genes that protect, some have 4, some have 3, and some organs are more likely to have problems than other ones based on lifestyle or just where it is. So that's why some cancers are more common than others. But these are the things that have to be or have to happen in some form for cancer to take over. And so first thing has to be unlimited growth. Something has to turn on the cell growth promoter gene. And this growth promoter gene has to be stuck open. Kind of like if you push down your gas pedal on your car and it just sticks and it just keeps going and going and going and going. That's what it means to be stuck open. And sometimes people talk about the gas pedal as a metaphor for cancer. That's one of the things. Now, you could have the gas pedal all the way down and be smashing on the brakes and it doesn't go anywhere. And so we have to turn off the brake, and that's the P53 gene, which is your tumor suppressor gene. This gene stops tumors from forming. This gene alerts the body if there is a problem, and it kind of stops cancer from going at this point. So we have to turn off that. There has to be a mutation that turns that off. We have to turn off the apoptosis genes. Apoptosis is basically cell death, automated cell death. And these genes are designed to stop a cell if a cell is either sick or has problems of it. It will just go through the process of not letting it replicate and just basically the cell will slowly pass away, go away. So we need that off. We want the cell not to have to go through apoptosis. We're going to turn on chromosome maintenance genes. Now this is interesting, and this is one of the reasons why I made you guys watch the telomeres video yesterday. We have genes that actually repair our chromosomes that are usually turned off most of the time, and it unlocks them and turns them on. So cancer genes are constantly repairing their chromosomes so they can do unlimited divisions. Because every time you divide as a cell, you have some damage to your chromosomes because they're out and about and they run into things, or there's UV light, or there's radiation, or some kind of form of chemicals. This guy fixes all those problems, and so these cells can unlimited divide. And then we also need to promote blood vessel growth. The cancer cells, because they're dividing, need a lot of energy. So this is one of the last ones, and this is when we start getting into problems of metastasis and whatnot, and spreading of cancer from one spot to another is when the blood vessels start forming around the tumor. Then the last guy, where we turn off the ability to anchor and density dependent, cells can float away, cancer cells can float away and find a new home, and cancer can spread. So all these have to go wrong. Why I like to bring that up is sometimes when we talk about cancer, even me, like you talk about it enough and you start getting a little panic attacks, you're like, how the heck do we all not have cancer? And one of the reasons why is we do have a lot of protections. We have a lot of things that kind of stop it from occurring. And one of my favorite stats is, if we were in person, I would have told you, is every single day you're making anywhere between 100 and 1,000 cancer cells, but your body takes care of them. It's not a big deal. Body's designed to take care of them and not to have cancer. The problem is when you eventually get all these problems, all these things happen. And then once they all happen, then it's a slippery slope. And just because all these things happen, sometimes cancer doesn't happen right away either. It could be years, just so you're aware. And this could only happen in one part of the body. It could happen in all of the body. It just depends on what kind of exposure it is. So with P53, that's probably the most famous one and the most famous gene you're going to hear about. P53 is a master regulator. So its job, if it's working right, is DNA is damaged. P53 comes in and either repairs the situation, and once it's repaired, it allows the cell to divide, or it can't repair it and it destroys the cell. Now, if P53 fails, the cell's going to just go through the process and keep dividing. So this is actually a protein that works on the S checkpoint. It's also something that we're going to use during the G2 checkpoint and even the metaphase checkpoint. It's constantly being used, and if it's not working, then we just let things go through these checkpoints, even with breaks in them or problems in them. So what causes these hits? What causes these problems in our DNA? And there is a wide-ranging ones, and it's not as simple as me just saying, hey, don't smoke cigarettes, you'll never get these hits. Like, obviously, people that don't smoke still get lung cancer, for example. So there's a wide range of things that can happen. The first one, UV radiation, that's for skin cancer. Also, you can technically get cancer of like membranes, like your lips and stuff like that, mouth, from UV light, but that's more rare. So UV radiation, chemical exposure, radiation exposure just in general. Now, I wouldn't be too worried about radiation exposure. There's background radiation in your life everywhere. Even like a dental x-ray, you have to get like 50 of those in a year to equal the concern level of radiation. Heat denatures DNA over time. So like even living in like 120 degree heat is a lot different than 100 degrees. Cigarette smoke, obviously, or any pollutants that you get into your lungs. Technically, cigarette smoke is a pollutant. Pollution, something you guys don't think about, but even the air quality in Kalkaska is not the greatest compared to other areas. Like, obviously, we were not doing awful, but we have some unchecked pollution in the air. Age, as you go along in age, your DNA just breaks down over time. So that's one of the reasons why, as people get older, cancer rates go up. And genetics. Some of us just have some of these automatically turned on and off based on our genes. So when they do a family history and they say, oh, how did your grandma die? And you say, well, it was breast cancer. Well, there's a good chance that they'll either do a genetic test or they'll keep an eye on you and ask you to come in a lot because your genes are set up for one or two of these to be broken. It's usually not one of these things gets all six of them hit or screwed up. It's usually one will do two or three, and then your genes already have two wrong, and then another one hits another one. It's not usually just one occurrence that causes cancer. And so just so like if you have cancer in your family history, it doesn't mean you're gonna get cancer. It means you need to be extra safe. I always like to use the health bar reference. Like, everyone should start with 100% health bar in every single aspect of their health, but say like, okay, my sister had brain cancer. That means my health bar on the brain cancer side is probably like at 60%. And I need to be careful not to drop it down to zero by doing things that could cause brain cancer. Now, there are different kinds of tumors that exist in the body. And you've heard about these before, I'm assuming. A benign tumor is a tumor that is technically, we say to people that it's not cancerous, but it's technically cancerous. It's a group of cells that are abnormal, that stayed at the original site, but P53 did its job, and they just are removed. They're just taken out. Malignant tumors are cells that leave the original site. They are cells that there is no control over them. They have blood going to them. They are at risk of metastasis, or they are going to be metastasizing. That is actual cancer. That's what we consider cancer, and we grade it through stages: stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. Unfortunately, most of the time, you don't catch cancer unless by accident in stage 1. It's usually stage 2. By the time we get to stage 4, we have some real concerns. Stage 4 is metastasis, meaning it's spread. So stage 4 is a life-threatening event. So we're going to talk a lot more about treatments Monday, but the traditional treatments for cancer have been growing the last 100 years or so. And the biggest one is still radiation and chemotherapy. Uh, Both of them are designed to try to kill fast reproducing cells as fast as they can. Now, there is not targeting with the old ways. There is targeting with the newer chemotherapies a little bit, but still not perfect. But what I mean by targeting is when you do radiation or chemotherapy, it goes throughout your body. It kills all cells that are replicating fast. And so it kills hair cells, it kills stomach lining cells, so you get nausea. Obviously, hair cells, you lose your hair. Your nails become really brittle and can fall off. Your skin becomes very ashy. A lot of those cells die because they're also going through mitosis. The radiation is killing everything that goes through mitosis. And it's basically playing a game of chicken of giving enough radiation where it kills enough cancer, but not enough to actually kill a person. Same with chemotherapy. Chemotherapy, I mean, it's really a poison for your body, but we're trying to kill the cancer before the chemotherapy kills you. Well, now we're starting to target a lot more. We're starting to create drugs. We're learning about each cancer cell. And in the beginning of this, and in my class, I talked about my past history making drugs. And I said when I made my drug, it affected all reproductive systems of all aquatic-based living things that we tested it on, so it wasn't perfect. And that's the problem with cancer cells is they're still human cells. And so it's not like every single drug can work because if it kills a cancer cell, there's a good chance it kills a human cell. But in the last 10 years, we've learned a lot about cancer cells, and we've learned that they do have some very detailed things about them that are different. And we're starting to use that to target. And you'll see that with like headlines and stuff like that. Like there's certain cancers that we've learned, okay, in this one cancer, if we attack this protein, that cell can't divide anymore, and it only happens in cancer cells. And so we're not finding cures so much, but we're finding ways to slow down cancer or halt it where it's at. And that's a huge positive thing. And I really hope in the next 50 years, cancer will become something that is obviously always going to be a traumatic event in someone's life, but it's something where we can get the death rates really low, and we'll have good treatments for all different types of cancer. There's a lot of cancer though, so it's hard to get treatments for all of them. So that's what we're going to talk about Monday. So I hope this made sense, all this stuff. Hope you took some notes. I'm going to have you guys do a little bit of activity and watching some videos the rest of the day. Hopefully you got everything done through the week. Make sure you turn all of it in. I should have Canvas updated with everything that you need to turn in, and we'll go from there. All right, guys. I'll talk to you soon.